This channel is for community college students looking to make sense of money. That's such a bad line. But anyway, it's true. This channel is dedicated to community college students. The main objective is to convey sound personal finance information specific to somebody who's 18 or 19 and is also in community college. Right. So I teach personal finance at a community college in California, and I have a lot of students that come through my classes, students from all sorts of different backgrounds. I have younger students who are taking the class to transfer off to a 4-year university. I have returning students who have already graduated who are in the workforce and they're looking to sort of upskill with new classes. And then I've also got retired individuals who are just sort of taking classes for personal fulfillment reasons. And if there's one thing that I hear more often than not from the older students is, man, I wish I would have taken this class when I was younger. And the reason is because once you sort of get into, some of the basic concepts of personal finance, you're going to realize that the number one secret weapon to building wealth is time. The more time you have, the more wealth that you can build. And a lot of students who are 40, 50 years old, or even in retirement, they're like, man, it's like this compound interest. I wish I would have known about that when I was younger, so I could have taken advantage of that now that I'm older. And so here's the issue. It's really hard to get somebody who is 18 excited about money or to think about what their life will look like when they're 40, 50, and even 60 years old. It's a hard thing to get somebody to stop and think about and pay attention to, especially when it causes so much anxiety and there's so much confusion and there's so much noise out in the world when it comes to money dedicated to somebody who's, just getting started. So I wrote a book. I wrote a personal finance textbook dedicated to community college students. I wrote it a few years ago. Super proud of it. I've spent thousands of dollars having it professionally edited. I give it away for free. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is, man, it's a great book, but somebody who's 18, 19 years old, they're not really gonna sit down and read it front to back, if ever, even with the word "fuck you" written on the front cover. They'll definitely stop and take a look at the front cover, right? But they don't really spend a lot of time with the nuts and bolts inside of the book. And so what I'm trying to do here through this podcast and through this YouTube channel is take some of the more salient points out of the book and put them into conversations, and specifically conversations with my students or people who are very similar to my students. Somebody who's young, who's just getting started, who's figuring out how to budget or figuring out how to invest or figuring out how to open up a credit card or use a credit card the right way. Right? I just want to make this accessible to my students. I want to take stuff out of the classroom, out of the book, and just like make it a little bit more entertaining. I don't have the same, I don't know, guide rails that I have to follow in class. I'm allowed to take a little bit more chance. Here in the real world, I could have students pretend to ask totally ridiculous questions and I can make fun of them if I want to, or I could have conversations with high school dropouts or drug dealers. But the point is to like make personal finance somewhat manageable and entertaining at the same time. And so that is Money Misfits. I'm not going to be sharing hot stock picks. I'm not going to be doing TikTok. I may actually end up doing that. But the goal is to really, you know, put on the table really sound advice when it comes to money in a very non threatening way. Like do it in conversation, do it with students who are making mistakes or doing things right, presenting my own personal mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes. And I've also done a lot of things really well. And I've also learned a lot in my career. I'm not going to get into my career, but the high levels are I'm a CPA. I graduated with a business degree from Berkeley. I spent close to 25 years working in consulting with, personal finance, corporate finance, accounting issues. I worked in the tax department for Arthur Andersen. I worked in the consulting practice for PricewaterhouseCoopers. I'm also a high school dropout. I hated school when I was younger. And so I've learned a lot, again, through my mistakes and through my own career. And I share those stories with students in the classroom. And now I'm really trying to take those stories out of the classroom and put them here into this channel. So I hope you find it entertaining. I hope you find it informational. I hope you find it both entertaining and informative. So anyway, this is Money Misfits. I am Professor Heath, and I'm looking forward to getting started.